Hi, this is Andrew Bryant. It's the end of the week for me, and as I'm thinking about wrapping up for the weekend, I just wanted to share with you a couple of thoughts that I've had from coaching this week. It's been an intense week working with C-suite leaders and those that want to make it to the C-suite. And some interesting things have come out that I really want to share with you around the C-suite mindset. And I just had a conversation with one of my clients who said, Andrew, you really opened up my mind to the fact that I could get into the C-suite. Before I spoke to you, I saw people with a particular, they looked a particular way, they sounded a particular way. I never thought about putting myself in that position. And after talking to you, now I can see myself there. The other thing that has been prominent this week is 2 or 3 conversations that I had with getting people to understand how they can think at a much more strategic level, which would allow them to then be in the C-suite. And so let me share with you a concept of thinking. I'm sure you've had the experience of going to a dance. Now, I'm not talking about a rave or a I'm showing my age here, a really frenetic dance. I'm talking more like, a high school ball or, a dance where, couples dance around the floor in some kind of organized way. And I'm sure you've had that experience. And if you think about being on the dance floor, where is your focus? Where is your perspective? You are looking at your partner, you are holding on to them, you have some awareness of the dancers around you, you're listening to the music, you might be aware of the band, but you're very much on the dance floor. Now, there's been a concept around for a long time known as the balcony view. And so with this dance, I want you to take a moment and imagine that you are on a balcony looking down at the dance floor. Now, the human mind has the ability to both be in an action and consider itself thinking about an action. So you can actually be on the balcony looking down at the dance floor and actually see yourself on that very dance floor. And isn't that amazing? You get a perspective, you get to see yourself, you get to see the other dancers. But what you would notice from the balconies, you get a much more broader view of the whole concept. You get to see the patterns of people moving, the efficiencies, the inefficiencies. You get to see everything from the balcony, except one thing. And this is where most people stop. They'll talk about, I step back, I get a bit of a balcony view, but they're missing the next level. In the C-suite mindset, and what I do as a coach, and the magic of coaching, is to take you at least one level more. And that is, imagine you are on the rafters, looking down at yourself on the balcony, looking down onto the dance floor. You see, when you're on the balcony looking at the dance floor, you're unaware of your own judgments and evaluations. Now, if it was a high school prom, you might be considering the people you like, the people you dislike, all of the issues that you've had. You might be judging, this person's a better dancer than me. I'm a better dancer than this person. My partner is better looking than this. This partner is better looking than my partner. It's a whole bunch of judgment. But you see, when you're on the balcony looking down, you are still within the paradigm and the frameworks that you are observing. But on the rafters, as you look at yourself on the balcony, looking down at the dance floor, you can ask yourself the question, from which viewpoint, from which lens am I looking at the dance floor? And that is when you become aware of your operating paradigms or schemas or belief sets or worldview or culture, all of the above. So as you step back, you realize you're always on the dance floor. You're always in interaction. You're always in a dance. The dance of communication is always happening. And, if you have some self-awareness, you'll step back and you get a balcony view and ask yourself the question, am I being the best version of myself in this situation? Did I handle that conversation effectively? But when you can take the rafter view and you can look at yourself looking down at the dance floor, then you get to see, hang on a moment, what's the viewpoint that I'm operating from? What's what's working, what's not for me. And that's the leadership perspective. That is the C-suite mindset. And as I just got off this conversation with somebody who said to me, Andrew, I never thought of myself stepping into the C-suite. She was able to get off the dance floor onto the balcony, but she had never got into the rafters and looked at herself and said, why not me? Why does a leader have to look a certain way, sound a certain way? Because those paradigms have been broken, whether it's gender or race or ethnicity, all of those boundaries have been broken, right? Now, whilst equality is not yet there at the C-suite, there is still a very strong skew towards people who look a bit like me. That is changing. But what needs to change first is that for people to step up and believe that they belong there, they need to check their balcony view. Have they limited themselves in terms of the perspective on how they view the possibility of the dance? They're not just a dancer, they're a conductor. They're not just a conductor, but they could be coaching other members on the dance floor. And if you are a leader and you're spending all of your time on the dance floor, you're in the wrong position. You should be on the balcony, watching for the patterns, directing the band, and you should be zooming out and asking yourself, are you seeing it big enough? Have you got that strategic view that you really should have? And this is the C-suite mindset. This is the work that I do on a daily basis. And for me, sometimes it seems obvious, and yet I keep having the same conversation when I ask people, so if you zoom out to the rafters and you see yourself on that balcony, what is the paradigm? What is the perspective, belief, framework that you're operating from? And is that the most useful? Because when we zoom out at least just one more level, believe it me, there are more than just these 3 levels. But when we zoom out just that extra level, that's what makes the difference. So those were my parting thoughts really for this week. It has been a super busy week for me, working with leaders who have been pivoting out of lockdowns into various levels of return to work, still with huge uncertainties around safety, etc. People concerned about how they need to pivot their businesses in the so-called new normal. And the advent of the acceleration of digitization, huge life-changing issues for businesses that are happening right now. I'm excited to be on the cutting edge. If you want to have a conversation with me on that, I recently recorded a webinar this week that is free to watch, and I will put the link to that webinar in the first comment below. I believe it's selfleadership.com/webinar, and that'll take it to you. So if you haven't seen that webinar, talking about some of the methods and models I use to help people get into the C-suite and when they get there to operate at their best, check out that webinar. So for me, I'm signing off for a weekend. I'm going to see if I can do a digital detox for you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend with your loved ones, with your family, but most importantly, stay safe. This is Andrew Bryant.